Okay, I will invite Dani. Oop. Let me see if that works. So everybody who's already listening, today is only in English, and Dani will be joining soon. She hasn't had a life experience yet on Instagram, so it could be that we have to wait for a few minutes for her. I'm not sure. Oh, there she is. Perfect.
Hello.
Hello, Silver Sister. You're looking perfect.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
You can see
Thanks
me
for
okay?
joining.
You're welcome. Let me just adjust my camera a bit there.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
Whew, okay. Already a few people in here. I just rambled a little bit about. I wasn't sure if you hop on in time because you said it was your first time, and from my experience, I sometimes didn't get it right on Instagram Live either. So,
Yeah.
but you're here, of course. You are a professional.
I skidded into the room.
Yes. Dani, so nice that you're here. You're a role model for me. You were the first person who introduced me to human design. I will be forever thankful for
I always remember that day and your response. Yeah, it's just another thing. I don't know if I'm, interested in another thing.
Which is kind of natural for me to do when I look at my design with the 63 and stuff and my defined ajna and all the things. But yes, now I'm here working with it, and it's a perfect time to kind of reassure what we are all doing all day in our businesses. And I mean, you are one of the persons who's going this quiet but steady and powerful in its own way of doing business, and with the right questions on hand. And I'm so excited to what will come out of your quad right mind today, which will be of so much value. So please listen, and I'm trying my best to see if there are good questions. Please, only good questions for a quad right.
And can I just mention something about that? Because
of course.
I was in the past, up until very recently, in fact, my mind would always be going, well, okay, Jan, you need to tell me what you're going to ask me. I need to know everything. I need to know beforehand. But now I'm getting into this groove and this understanding, no, I don't. Because I think both as a generator and a quad right, just trust in the moment. Just trust in the moment. And if I don't have something to say about something, I don't have something to say. I can pass on it, So
it's the perfect introduction, because it's kind of what you also are describing in your book, Quiet Marketing. To question if you really need to do something, if you really need to have an email sign-up list, if you really need to compare yourself to others, or to catch or to have a steady pace or anything like that. So the main topic today we, in a funny way, picked is you don't need to make yourself accessible. Would you explain from your side, before we go deeper into the topic, what is quiet marketing for you? And how did you get there to say, here I am, I want to talk about quiet marketing. It's not the most popular thing, probably it is, but what was your journey to that? And then we'll slowly hop on to the main topic.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I started like most people, and you can hear me okay, yeah?
I'm hearing you perfectly.
Great. And I was just doing all of the things and getting exhausted, not really getting anywhere. And I also very much in hindsight remember, or I think of it now, look in hindsight, as I was living on a prayer, really. I was doing, I was following all these people that just really said, if you believe enough and if you, all of this mindset work, then something will happen. And really, I'm just a very practical person. And so I realized that, no, there are there are actually things you need to have in place. Like you need to sort out your messaging and you need to do certain things and have good offers in order to have a successful business. You can't just believe your way or tap your way or whatever into those things. And really, I just started questioning a lot of things. And okay, let me just, the catalyst, one of the catalysts, yeah, probably the first moment was when I decided to survey some clients who had bought a little course that I did, but like back, it wasn't like the courses I do now that are proper courses. These were like other things that were digital products. And they had bought it, but I noticed they were talking about like a month or two later, having bought something else that was way more expensive. And I knew that they hadn't done mine. I could see that they hadn't done it. I could see they hadn't clicked it, you know, so it wasn't about the other thing that they moved on to was better, because they wouldn't even know what mine was about because they didn't do it or hardly done it. Anyway, what I learned from that is just a whole bunch of things about marketing and how the marketing strategies that we're taught are good for sales but not good for people, really. And it keeps them jumping from one thing to the next. And the kind of practices that make that happen are things like fast action bonuses, early bird pricing, countdown timers. So it was all of these things that were making people continue to leap. And so that was one of the first times where I started questioning a lot about marketing. And then another kind of fun, interesting moment was that same year, I went to a ufology World Congress. I was so freaking excited. I bought a VIP ticket. Anyway, I walked away from that seminar. What I got out of it was nothing about UFOs, let me just tell you that. But someone spoke, and everything that she spoke was just hitting me like in a good way. And I walked away going, everything's got to change, you know, because, and yeah, it makes me feel a bit emotional because it's like, you know, the world is running on fear, you know, and it's like all marketing practices are based on fear, this fear of missing out. And so I must change, even though that scared me a bit, even though I thought I could lose everything, you know. But I was like, I'm willing to do this because my conviction was so strong, you know. So yeah, they're two of the moments that sort of started to make me change and think differently and really start to question everything. Because up until that point in my life, I had pretty much adopted anything I was told, not just about marketing, but about other stuff too, you know, about religion, about spirituality, about so many things. And so this was like, yeah, that moment where I'm like, no, you know, and gradually, bit by bit, getting confidence to just change things and do things differently, even though I didn't know that that would work, even though I probably doubted that that would work. I was like, I don't know, but I must do this for me, you know. Went a bit deeper there than we thought we'd go.
Of course we do. We're both quite right. And, it's just happening. This is the thing about it. And it touches me deeply too, not to only see you being so honest, vulnerable, and emotional about it. Also, you know, there's so much things in it which not in a coincidence way we met, you know, in Koh Samui in the workation back in the day in 2016, because people like Seth Godin or Derek Sivers, you know them. Derek Sivers is one of who adapted the sentence, no, 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 and hell yes. It's not from him. He always says it, but it's, you know, a lot of people say it is. He was kind of the first one who invented an iTunes, what we know now as Spotify or Apple Music. Back in the day, iTunes was such a novelty, but he did something similar in the first place. He made a website and sold his album, and then some people asked him, hey, some musician friends asked him, can you sell my album there too? And then it got big, and he even sat on the table with Steve Jobs because he wanted to buy it. And I think he said no, something like that, which is, profound too. And one day he sold it, and against all odds, against all opinions, against everything, and made kind of the same decisions. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to move into nature and only work if I really feel like it. And I only, on his website, it's still very old. He just blogs and he just has the things I'm working on right now. And you can only contact me if it's related to these topics. And it's totally counterintuitive to what we are being told, like you said. And there's so much pressure on it. And it's not even about right or wrong, like you already said and you write in your book. It's about what it does to you and what it really has to do with your true self. If it's religion, if it's family, if it's spirituality, if it's business. And so many people have so much power in front of you. And when you compare yourself to them, that you think it might actually be true and I should do it. Otherwise, I can't stand it. It's not the right decision to be a solopreneur or a business owner in the first place. So what made you, was it really this punchline on the seminar where you felt boom, 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 truth bombs, and then you knew there was no going back? It just had to change. Wasn't that, I mean, it seems like a very sudden transformation that you, not that it happened immediately, but it feels like it was a point of no return. How did you do it? I mean, it doesn't seem easy because it's the majority, it's what works. It, like you said, it's successful, but it's not good for the people, which is a sentence I love. You make sales, but it's not good for the people, for yourself, for the people, not in the first place. They only consume it, they go to the next one and they lose themselves. So what made you being strong and stick to it and develop it step by step? What was your, I don't know, how did you do that?
Well, before I went to that ufology thing, I'd already started to make some changes. I thought they were pretty big changes. They were out of my comfort zone in terms of going against the grain. After I got back, I had another look at what I was doing, and I just remember going, Danny, no, that's got to go too. Like, and that. And so there were things I remember relating to countdown timers, to just the normal things that you would do that was specifically related to my email sequence, actually. And I was just like, no, that too. And I think there was a few things going on. One of them was I wasn't crazily successful at that time. I was chugging along. I was making a bit of money. I couldn't say that I was, I'd made it yet, right? So there was also this element of, okay, things might get a little bit bad because of these changes in terms of income, but they're not that good anyway. So I was sort of like, I don't have a lot to lose here, and because I live in this highly sensitive body, I got to that point where my nervous system would just no longer allow it, So I think that was a big part. A lot of this happened in 2017. And the other thing that I decided at that time, so it was sort of like so many little changes were coming together and accumulating. So one of them was that I decided to stop having an income goal, because that was just, it was not good for me. It was not good for my soul. Every month it was like, I didn't get it. I still didn't get it. I didn't get it. And then I was like, enough, right?
Even if you get it, you need the next one, and you need to stick up with costs and everything. So
exactly. Yeah. So I made this decision. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that, but I tell you what I'm going to do. My goal now is just build community. I'm just going to build community. I'm going to build community. How else can I build community? How else can I build community? So that was the question. And that made the world of difference, right?
Why community?
Because, what's the guy's name? It might come up to me later, but I'd also come across this teaching of preeminence, it's called. And the idea of this was being your audiences or your customers or your potential clients' most trusted advisor before they start working with you, right? And so I was like, oh my God. Like, and to me, it was like before they join your list, because all the, you know, guidance is, nah, just get them on your list quickly, then nurture them. And I'm like, no, I'm going to nurture them before they get on my list, so they know who the hell I am when I turn up in their inbox. So I thought, I'm going to take care of the things that lead to income rather than just going income, income. So I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to share my thoughts and, you know, that kind of thing. I thought that seemed doable. That seemed something I had control over, you know, because at the end of the day, I could go, did I do something to build community today? Yeah, I did. I did that. Great. Feeling successful. Whereas the money thing, did I get it? No. Like the answer was just no, no, and no. Right.
And was it more like creating output on your like artsy way, in the way you feel well, you feel good? Or was it because you thought still of the old paradigm, you need freebies and you need to put something out so that you are of value?
Yeah, so what I wanted to do is no freebies, no, like I'd stopped doing that actually. I stopped growing my list through like email opt-ins and things. There's another story behind that one. And what I wanted to do is just, yeah, I didn't call it this back then, but do my art. I just wanted to do whatever the heck I wanted to do. There was no call to action. There was no anything. It was just like, yep, I'm going to say something about that and that and that. And this is when I was also starting to understand, well, actually, hold on. It was also when I was starting to do my strategy of responding, but without consciously knowing it. In hindsight, I worked out what had happened. I worked out, like, because my business changed a lot in the next few months when I started, you know, like making these changes. And when I reverse engineered, I was like, right. And that's where I ended up putting that course together for generators, where like I basically followed the steps of the things that had worked well, reverse engineered them, repeated them consciously, got the same results. And I'm like, I'm freaking onto something here, you know. So even this,
go on.
Well, yeah, the one example would be how I would see something, and this kind of speaks to a chapter in the book as well, that was sort of a bit irritating for me, a bit like I would think, no, like, you know, someone in a Facebook group, I was in Facebook groups at the time, and I'd see something, it would kind of make me shake my head, like, they've got it all wrong, or they're thinking about that wrong. But instead of me coming in under like that post with my contrary opinion, I decided to go over to my place, my home, which at the time was Facebook, my page, and I would craft a piece that was essentially in response. I was using that generator energy to go blah, and I would create this good piece. And it was, you know, it was a different voice. It was a different opinion to what people were hearing. And that's how I started to build this, a bit of a name for myself for doing things differently. That's what others would say. I wasn't going around going, hey, I'm doing things differently. I was just sharing what I was doing. So no agenda, no call to action. It was just me being fully self-expressed.
So and it's also in a quiet way, you know, it's not against something, it's for the cause you feel, and it's not initiating, it's responding. And this is kind of the shift you were doing, and this changes everything if you really do that. Then your attention goes really what you can do and what you feel like doing, and not what you should do and you must do, or it is against yourself, but your mind says, and other people say, yeah, it's, come on, do it. It's kind of the same way with my chart calculator with a body graph. I wanted to, everybody said, come on, put an opt-in there when people register, at least, even when they calculate their chart. Everybody will be happy to leave their email there. But I always, what my question with being a mental projector and quite right is there flow or not? And I felt just before launching the body graph on my website, I told the developers, kick it out. I want to create a flow, and people should join me or follow me or anything if they see the value I created with it, and if they have fun using it. And since then, I even haven't sent out a newsletter in my entire life. I've had a list for a couple of years, even before human design, with my This is Freedom or So geht Freiheit project, where I made YouTube videos and blogged and everything. But there were always like 80 people on there, and now it's 1,100 or something.
Wow!
Just in a couple of months. And I didn't send any newsletter. I have an opt-in on my website still, but it's very at the bottom of my page and not pushing anything or anyone. And really thousands of people using my calculator, and just it's just evolving in a way. And now I only have to be kind of aware of where should I go next. And this is why it touches me how you are describing the development of your business and your new attitude towards it, and what I read in your book, because you're so quickly, from my perspective, back in this game where you think you need to DM everybody and make stories and posts, especially when it's growing, especially when there's some momentum, which is happening right now. It's funny, that we talk. It's happening right now at my account in my business, and I feel this fucking pressure, to do something. I really do, but I know it's not true. And I know from you, as being so sensitive and being a quad right, you're not only a generator, you're also a quad right. How do you deal with when you feel like there's a chance of a fallback, or when you feel this pressure? What are you doing to get back in balance? If you at least experience that still, or with your clients, what do you suggest them?
I think
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, I think I don't. Maybe I'm not sure. I don't really use the word pressure. I tend to use words more like tension, or like nervous tension or anxiety or something like that. So it's just that sort of feeling like, it's like a sacral nerve shot. But it's a very visceral thing, right? So how I used to approach it, I was very much the feel the fear and do it anyway kind of girl, right? That's been my motto, like even up until like less than a year ago. And I just learned some big lessons about that in the last year. And so now, if I feel the fear or the tension or the whatever, I don't positive self-talk myself into doing it. I think we talked about this when I interviewed you. I don't go, come on, Danny, you can do it. You can rise to the challenge. You got this, girl. I don't do that now. I'm just like, whoa, okay. This is either an absolute no, or something about this very much needs to change. So, as an example, I was feeling, or it had been happening for a while, but I was like very consciously noticing I was having a lot of anxiety or tension leading up to teaching live classes, right? During the actual class, I'd be fine. I'd be like, it was kind of like showtime, I stepped into it and it was all fine, Afterwards, I would feel kind of wiped out and really need soothing. So I'd be reaching for wine and mostly wine, but food as well, And so I knew that wasn't really cool, to be doing that. And cut a long story short, what I realized is, you know what? I do love turning up. I do love spending time with people in this group scenario, but I don't want to perform. I don't want to teach. I want to do the teaching in my own private environment. And this is very much to the 2-4 as well, really. It's like, leave me alone. I want to I want to prepare this teaching. I want to do it very concise. I want to give it to you for you to digest. And then, hey, let's get together, the 4. Let's have a party. Let's have a conversation. Let's have an informal chat about it. I enjoy that. So it was a bit confrontational for me to think, to do this, because I felt like I had a duty to teach live, because some people will never do the training because they just buy stuff and keep moving on. And I took it on as my responsibility to teach live to help those poor souls, you know? And now I'm like, no, it's not my duty, you know. And my tiny trainings, they're so easy to digest that really you could watch that an hour before you come to the call. And, you know, so I guess that's one example of how I've navigated that. Tension.
I feel you. I deleted Facebook last year. I take sometimes weeks or months to respond to messages. I allow myself, not only in business context, also privately. And, you know, it's only if I know I need to confront myself with it, I try and I do it. Or if I really feel like I have the space, you know, it's also a chapter in your book, Creating Space, which is, whoa, so important for me. And I feel like for many people, but it's getting harder and harder because people want your attention, you know, in so many ways, especially now in the COVID times where you have all these streaming devices and Instagram and Facebook and whatever. So it's even more attention grabbing online, how you should spend the time. And then you don't finish the course. You don't really think for yourself, is the course even the right step now? Or if it's even right for me, or do I really resonate, or what is it that resonates with me and Dani, for example? Sometimes it's just, you know, they're just consuming you, or something, they see something in you they also want to have, but it's not so much about them, and they don't even take the time to do that. So I want to move to the main topic. You don't need to make yourself accessible, which I'm struggling with that right now, and I'm feeling the tension in my nervous system rising and rising every day, because I get so much very good questions also, and acknowledging messages and everything, and so many opportunities rising. And I know in my awareness state that it's not so much about that I do the right thing in a common sense way. So I know it and I can observe it, but I have still a hard time really acting upon it. So I'm really curious how you would describe this process of what you mean by not needing to make yourself accessible, and you specifically refer to direct messaging and communicating. So from a solopreneur point of view, how would you describe this topic? How did it come up? And
well,
tell me about it.
A lot of this stuff comes from irritation. Like, you'll hear me talk about this a lot. And of course, I wrote an actual chapter on the wisdom of irritation, because there is freaking wisdom in it for us, right? So what I noticed, first of all, my first little irritation was it really annoyed me when I saw all this carry on that people do. Like, people would be promoting like a program. They're like, oh, it's this and that. Just DM me for the details, you know? And I'm like, what the hell? Why don't you just tell us how much it is? Why don't you just like be open about it? Like, and it was like, no, just DM me. It felt really newscast. Like, it felt like, come into my web. Once I've got you in my DM, I'm going to then, you know, kind of convince you to buy this thing, you know. And I'm like, I'm not freaking, no. So I won't work with anyone myself in terms of me being a client of theirs who does that kind of thing, because I just have that much disdain for it. Basically, I just don't think it's transparent. And okay, so then this is where I started to also go, but Dani, you know, move with the times. You're being a bit of a dinosaur, like thinking like that, you know, like, you know, just, you got to move with the times, right? So that idea would kind of be around. I think, oh, whatever, you know, moving on, you know. But then the next thing that was happening that I was really irritated about is I would write a post, and then I would get people, instead of commenting, like contributing to what I'm saying in the post, they thought they'd send me a DM about it. right? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why don't you just, you could have said that in the post and you could have been part of the bigger conversation here. But no, you just want to have this little thing, you know, with me. And then it's like, oh man, like that's annoying. And then I would get people going, oh, can you tell me about what you're offering? And I'd be like, hello, link in profile, go to my web. You know, like, I'm like, so I started to see that people thought this whole DM culture is like an invitation for certain types of people to like waste your time, basically. I know that they don't think that they're doing that or whatever, but they're just like, oh, this is all cash and, you know, Danny's nice and I'm just going to DM her and, you know, and I'm like, no, like that's no, because that means more screen time for me. It means another thing to do on my list, you know, stuff like that. So, so that's where the inspiration to sort of include that chapter in the book was. And then as I was thinking about it, I'm like, but hold on a minute, really? This goes beyond direct messaging. You know, there's a lot of angles to this. So the next thing that I mentioned is we also, and this is like really about making yourself too easily accessible, you know, to people, especially those who aren't clients, but even to clients, right? So the next thing I was thinking about is how, you know, when you're putting a coaching package together or something like that, you know, it's quite common to see, you know, in between session support, you know, stuff like that. And I know I did that initially because I saw other people doing it and it's like, oh yeah, because then that justifies the price a bit more, you know, you feel like, oh, that's adding value, you know, so yeah, throw that in there. But then what I realized is I hated it. I hated when people emailed me in between sessions. Like if they had a basic question, Danny, did you have something for what, you know, like just a basic thing, fine. But when people basically wanted coaching, like they wanted to use email to maybe get, you know, get a little bit more out of me, you know? Yeah. And it was like, no, that's something we talk about in session. That's what I was thinking. So I was like, that became another thing. It's like, so I don't, you know, I don't say that anymore. If I'm working with someone and they do email me, fine, you know, but I'm not going to say in between session support, just, you know, because again, it's just this is all about making us, none of these things are right or wrong, by the way. It's just, yeah, what's right for us individual. Some of us might love that kind of thing, some of us might not. But essentially this is about don't make yourself more available than you really want to be, you know?
And one of your definitions of success I read in your book is having 3 days off a week and having time and space, creating space, just neutral space, which you probably don't know what will happen there, and having time for your art. And really having time for the people who really want to work with you. So it's, you know, it's one thing to see that what you were describing and also feeling triggered by or complaining. People are people. It's what you make of it and what, like you said, how can I transform this irritation? I love the word, by the way. And how can I make something out of it instead of sticking with it and, you know, having this nervous system which is too high and not balanced. So one of your solutions or is this a suggestion, or you can tell about your solution to how you balance that thing? Because I feel like when you are you and you are a coach and you are a generator also in particular, you like to see the process going and you want to be there for at least your tribe or your community with the fourth line. So in a way you want to support them, but only the way it's healthy for you and then of real value for the people and they appreciate it and it feels good for you. So how did you manage to transform it?
Yeah, so on a very practical sense with the direct messaging, I just closed down the option for that to happen, right? And there's a way you can do it. You know, it's a little bit hard to find, I must say, but I've certainly minimized that being able to happen. And what's so interesting, Jan, is some of the people who decided to work with me, they decided, one of the things that helped them decide is they try to message me, right, on Instagram. They got this message that says something like, Danny doesn't accept direct messages, something, you know, and led them somewhere else. And they saw that and they were like, oh my God, I love that, you know, because they're like, I want that for myself. Like they, you know, something that didn't even cross their mind. So that's one thing I've done in a practical sense. I wrote a post about it once, and some of those people said, Danny, you know, that's priceless what you did. And I did exactly what you said, because I couldn't message you. I went to your website and I found what I needed and I bought it. Right?
Elegant.
So, yeah. So, you know, I wasn't required. So that's how I dealt with that in a practical sense. And then in terms of coaching offerings, as I said, I just don't say, I just don't include that. You know, that's just how I approach it. But there's another way that it plays out as well. And I got thinking about this because you mentioned that you were on one of my tiny course pages. So yeah, you know, these tiny courses they're the major part of my business now, really. And I had to put in a section there to say, hey, this is a tiny self-study course. It doesn't include email access to me. It doesn't include, you know, guidance and, you know, how to like implement this, because I actually found a couple of times that that's what certain people's expectation was, that they had enrolled. So they were able to email me and essentially get coaching by email, you know?
Yeah.
So, so I've been very clear that that's not what this course is about. But if you would love my input in your business, then I have this mentorship, and that's the place you go after you finish this course. So, you know, I just find little ways to redirect people, really. Yeah.
And how do you manage then this particular thing? Because then there's a group, whatever it is, and do you also give them input there and answer questions there? And there need to be new rules for probably yourself, because there will always be some people left who also abuse that, not in a conscious way in particular, but they think, okay, I ask all the time and get my coaching there, you know, around the corner to the one-on-one experience with Dani, because, oh, she's online and now I can ask her, whatever. How do you deal with that? Is it also that you set time for that, or rules and particular days where you announce it, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, great question. Because really this is all about having business boundaries, you know, or whatever you want to call it, or business self-care is another way to put it, you know. So yeah, in my group, I've done it a few different ways. Let me give you the example that is about to happen with the next group that comes. So all right. So one thing that I realized is I don't like being in communities and like tap, 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 you know, like spending time. I just don't like that. It feels like a chore, right? Whereas I love showing up live. I love showing up live to a conversation. So I have very much sort of, you know, communicated that this is the place where we have the conversation, and there is this forum here, and you guys can interact with each other, and this is the sort of stuff I'm going to initiate. But I'm just sort of clear about that. And then there's something that I'm doing a little bit differently with my next group, which is I'm going to spend 15 minutes on their business each week, but they have to submit some stuff for me to look at, right? And then, so I have a very specific process about that, because it's so interesting. Like I'm always thinking I'm very clear about things, and I am, but like I can say, all right, guys, this is where you submit your stuff. And then people will go, oh, email it. And then they'll go Voxer, because they have my Voxer, you know, so they start using all the, and I'm like, no, here, right here, you know, because again, it goes back to wanting to spend less time online. I don't want to have to go searching in all these other locations for this, you know, conversation that we're having. So, but one thing I was thinking about is like, oh, like, how am I going to do this? Because what if they give me a load of stuff and it takes way more than 15 minutes? And I'm like, well, then you just say, like this, you know, I don't know how I'll say it, but I find an elegant way to say, this is what I got to at 15 minutes. So if you still want help with the other one, we'll, you know, submit that for next week. Like just reinforce what the deal is, you know, which can feel hard sometimes because, you know, you don't want to feel like you're being the,
setting
you know,
boundaries,
the stickler.
really being yourself and always checking in and transforming these irritations and saying no is kind of hard, you know, being very self-aware, being very reliant, or that, you know, you have the responsibility for kind of everything in your life is not easy, but it's probably the only way to always come out of these rabbit holes, FOMOs, shiny objects, monkey mind things that you need to think about, at least, or feel into your body what is really correct for yourself and what you really believe yourself. So how has human design helped you on this journey, and what is for you the most significant part, which is always like, I'm checking in there, or not even aware or conscious, but like in hindsight, like you also already told, how is human design helping you there, and are you using it with your clients too?
Yeah, I can't really help anyone now if I don't have the basics of, you know, what their strategy is, what their profile numbers are, because otherwise, you know, I'm just going to step into how Danny, the 2/4 generator, Sacral Authority, you know, does stuff, you know. So if I know what they are, I can help ask the questions to help them come to answers, you know, for themselves. So I think the things that help me the most, and the first one is really unconscious now, or I don't know if that's the word, but it's to the point where it just happens. I don't have to think about it, and that's just really knowing my sacral response. You know, and to me, that certainly isn't aha and right? Because as a business person who works on my own, and I'm going through things, like I'm just not sitting there saying aha and to myself, you know, like, but I've worked out other ways that my sacral speaks, you know.
I love it.
So one of them is, I call it the sacral ooh, right? So it's like, it's that the brow too, if I could get So, you know, I could be reading something or something's come my way, and, you know, my mouth literally makes that O shape, and I go, ooh. Now that's come out before I'm even thinking about anything, but once I've heard it, I'm like, that, Danny, what's that? What's that thing there? You know, pay attention, because that was a really big sacral ooh, right? So that really helps. And then just in terms of a sacral no, like anything that just feels a bit like, you know, anything that feels like a bit heavy, a bit of an obligation, a bit anxious. I also talk about I call it the sacral meter. I don't know if I ever showed you this before. Yeah, did I do this before? The sacral meter?
I love it.
Okay. Also called the can I be bothered meter. That's the other name for it. Because I found myself going with a lot of things like, okay, so I'd see people doing things in their business or marketing, and I'd think, oh, wow, you know, and I would start to go into, I'm going to do that too, right? But then that would be very short-lived, and I go, oh, but honestly, I just can't be bothered, right? That's what I found myself saying. And then I was thinking about this, like this, I can't be bothered. I'm like, God, I seem to can't be bothered doing a lot of things, you know. But then I realized really that's the sacral meter. So it's like, if this is like a meter, the downward position is no, or don't take any action. This is like, whoa, yeah, right? And this is also like, if you can be bothered, it's like, whoa, yeah. If it's like this, it's a no. It's a no. It's just a no, right? Or it needs to change dramatically. So knowing that's really helped. Understanding about the 2/4 profile and how that plays out for me. I can just see it all over my business now, and all over my personal preferences and how I like to do things, you know, from, you know, one of the things I've realized is that programs need to be bookended. There needs to be a start and a finish, so that when it finishes, I can be like, see ya, leave me alone, right? Like, I'm off doing whatever I want now. So like, I know like a membership model wouldn't work for me, you know, where you just have people in this group and they're paying a monthly fee and it just goes on and on and on, and then you're required to keep pulling rabbits out of a hat, you know, for them to justify, you know, continuing. So I know that wouldn't work. Bookends, great.
So also another human design profile and chart is also another healthy boundary for yourself. You're using it as another healthy boundary, and also to check in what is really your truth in the moment, and without all this head spinning stuff about what you should and could do. What do you think, you know, it seems like you not have all figured it out, obviously, but there's a really good framework you build, which is in resonance with the people you work with. So you are quite far in your process, I feel, where it's healthy for you how to live and how to work on your business and with your clients, and you're not scared of how to set the boundaries you're setting, which is what it's all about in the end, that you're overcoming the fear of losing, or of losing something, or a client, or a success, or anything you imagined you should have. What is still your kind of biggest struggle there, or where you, even though the meter is down, you do it, or it can be private, it can be business, and what you are fine sharing. What is Dani still working on and transforming the irritation in something she likes to look at?
The main thing that comes to mind is maybe being wobbly on people I end up working with, or being wobbly on the sacral response. You know, I had even an experience recently where, so I've got this this system now where if people want to work with me, they do a little video to introduce themselves, and that works really well because I pick up so much from a person, you know. And then I had an experience recently where that was a yes, but then I looked at their website and I was like, oh, it was a bit like that. Oh, you know, like I just got a whole new insight to this person, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. So I guess I could say it felt a little bit mental as well, you know, because, you know, there was, I have this saying now, the sacral doesn't have thoughts. So yeah, so if you are in your head, you're not in your sacral, because the sacral doesn't talk. It just, you know, well, you know, it's something else. So yeah, in hindsight, you know, I wouldn't say like that client relationship is very fulfilling for me, and it's left me with a bit of question mark and stuff like that. So I think there's that I still need to, you know, do something about, you know, like fine tune, that kind of thing. I think it's mainly with individuals, I would say, that whereas with processes, I just want to do it like this, and, you know, like I just don't even second guess it now. And I'll do things, I don't know if they will work, but it's not really second guessing. I'm just like, I don't know if it will work. I'm just going to experiment. But I don't, you know, I don't see that as a second guessing. I'm like confident that I'm going to do it. Well, let's just see what happens, you know.
So when it comes down to personal relationships where you care, or where you feel a connection or anything, you're not sure about this connection, there are some irritations, but it's a person, and then it's not as easy as you would change your course or just pause it for half a year because you're not feeling it. You can do it, but if it's a person, and if it's personal in a way, then you're still wobbling sometimes, which is, you know, human, I think, which is
of course.
Not there is a technical solution for that. It's just a process of probably you know, how you express yourself and who are you attracting, and then you are learning on the way, what I feel.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because with each little experience, well, you gain experience, don't you? You know.
it's
So
why we are here, isn't it?
yeah. So it's like, even with that situation, it's like I could say, well, what could you have done, Danny? Go, you've already committed to working, and then go, sorry, just looked at your website. and now it's a no. Like, I mean, that's the honest thing to do. But, you know, so it's like navigating that, because that kind of thing could come up again, you know. So
it's navigating your authority in a technical term in human design, in a way, you know. It's what is it really, and can I trust it, and is it just a thought? Am I I mean, I'm judging. Is it judging, like judging the website person? I shouldn't do that, you know, in a way. And then this conversation is going on, and the sacral is far at the horizon already, and you're only in the head probably. But it's a process, and it never ends, and it's good, because I think it makes us humble and human, and not only Dani has all figured it out on her pedestal of quiet marketing business, and it's just, I don't care about anybody who's not, you know, doing the thing I am setting the frame, and it's not like that. But I can't tell you enough how I love this kind of, in a way, radical approach, but it's not radical at all. It's so quiet, it's so soothing, it's so calming. When I read your book, I'm already, you know, it's space there left and right. It's not overwhelmingly long. The chapters are short but to the point. The wording is in a way like meditation already. There's no pressure. There's just the pressure of asking the right, honest questions, which can be pressure, which can be like, come on, seriously, you know, it's not about me. It's not what I'm doing that you need to copy it. It's what will you, is it something that resonates with you? Then you please look at it. You don't even have to say it. It's such a quiet, beautiful way. And not a lot of people have the courage, I think, or the creativity or the fantasy or whatever it is to do it that way. And I really love it. And I don't even need to say, yeah, you need to tell the whole world, because you couldn't be bothered with that, because you're a 2-4 and you're doing your thing, and you don't need to reach the whole world. So please don't push it like, yeah, you need to reach everybody. Everybody has to do quiet marketing. You're a lighthouse on your island, on your in your area, and that is so inspiring, and that I really appreciate that. It's very inspiring every time I get in touch with you, or I see you, and it's beautiful. I love your colors. I love your way. It's so coherent, you know. And this is so refreshing in this world of push, content, and loud still. And it's very soothing. So thank you so much.
And really, I just want to say, you know, quiet marketing, if you really look at what I'm saying, it's just about being very human.
Yeah.
It's just about being very true to yourself. It's just about trusting yourself. And it's very powerful. Like, if you really look at what I'm suggesting and you explore it for yourself, it's freaking powerful.
It is.
So there's a paradox about quiet marketing, you know, when you really look at it, you know, and, you know, if you just look at what I'm saying, you kind of apply it to yourself, you put yourself in a position where the quiet part about it is you probably have to say very little to make a bigger impact in people's hearts and minds, you know.
Wow. So when the people want to buy the book or work with you, they just go on your website, your bio on Instagram, and don't DM you.
You won't be able to. You can. There's a select
few. Or you can't. You will see. Yeah. They will find their way to you, and it was so much value in there, so much quiet value. I really enjoyed the stillness. It was like you're describing your mentorship, the tea room, is it probably, or your group?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
the tea room.
I love your wording and branding anyway. It's so, it's so, you know, it's not this typical American way, like really, you know, revolution
talking it up,
yeah,
kind of thing.
And it's the tea room, and it's quiet marketing, and I love it. And this conversation was kind of the same. It was very quiet, it was very calming. I hope so for people who watched. It's not, come on, here are the biggest news and information. It was just two human beings talking about a different approach to marketing, who share the values, but are different after all. And I really love that. And I think it'll be of a lot of value for the people who feel like watching it, rewatching it, and who attended today. And there were a lot of people coming in and out, and also staying some. So thank you so much for your time. Please have the last words, what you want to say, what is your next goals, or what you will do next, so that people want to connect with you, because we already know they can't connect with you on the classic way. So tell what you want, what your quad right wants to tell. And
well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for hosting this conversation. It's been really fun. In terms of what am I working on, I have just finished updating 3 of my tiny courses, and I'm a little bit tiny coursed out right now. But one of them is for human design generators, called The Art of Responding, and that's all about applying their strategy to in a business and marketing context. And then, really, I'm just going to sort of take it easy. I've finished because I plan or organize my business or my projects 3 months at a time per season. And I've actually finished a month early, but it's because I worked like crazy. It's a funny story. People were buying these courses that I'm redoing, and I was like, no, I don't want you to have that one. I'm redoing it. So it would make me hurry up and put more hours into it. So I've actually worked pretty hard the last month or two. And now I'm just going to be like, and then really the next thing that's happening is in March, I'll have my tea room as well. So that's just a small group mentorship. There's one offered for 2 different time zones. And it's just an opportunity it's like a container that you can come in and work on something yourself that will really make a difference in terms of income, impact, sustainability, come out the other end with something valuable, like a tiny course or a book or something, for your business. So that's me.
Love that. Thank you so much, Dani. And everybody who resonates will find their way to you. And have a great day. This I will try my best to set it to recording, that I can put it in my videos, and then people can rewatch it if they like to. And thank you so much, and have a quiet day.
Will do. Thanks so much, John.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.